evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to this, the August 18th edition of Beyond the Headlines. My name is Colin Dowe, and thank you so very much for joining us this evening. So whether you're looking at us on GBN television, listening on GBN radio, or a part of any of our social media platforms, thank you. You are the ones that make our evenings and our programs special. We've been on the trek with Spice Mass over the last couple of weeks, and it's only fitting that we put the cap on it, having seen the crescendo, as it were, last Monday and Tuesday. So I have two of my best friends with me, and we are going to be doing a review of Spice Mass. We're probably going to zero in particularly on the music, but we certainly would start off with an overall review. With me in studio is former Minister of Culture, former Chairman of Spice Mass Corporation, Ambassador Arlie Gill. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, and I chuckled when you say friend. I wonder where you bought that shirt.
This evening when I saw you coming out of the vehicle, I was a little bit worried because I was hoping that we weren't twinning. We have similar tastes but not identical tastes, so I appreciate that. And the next friend of ours, who is a carnival enthusiast, cultural enthusiast, musician and music critique, Alan Robinson from the Cayman Islands. Alan, welcome.
Thank you, Colin. I'm glad to be considered friend still. And I realize why y'all leave me out in the shirt thing, but it's all right. I'll find the store somewhere.
Well, boy, you have to go shopping around the Cayman Islands.
You're looking good after Carnival Tabanca, man.
All right, gentlemen, welcome and thank you for the opportunity to engage and review Spice Mass 2025. And this is an open one, and Ali, probably you can go first. Just share with us what is your overall impression of Spice Mass 2025.
We had an excellent Spice Mass. We had a good carnival. We established that we have the best mass by far. The highlight for me was the quality of the music, the groovy and power soca music, and I think also too we had a very good crop of calypsos for the persons who would have gone out in particular in the calypso tents. I think that there was enough quality of calypsos in the calypso tents as well. The groovy, the jab hold its own, although I believe that there is room for improvement in terms of...
We're going to get into that. So just in terms of your overall assessment, and as you do that, and I believe you started going there, what would you consider to be the biggest win for Spice Mass 2025? And if you were to look at a critical area for development for 2026, what it will be?
I would say the biggest win is the music, Juve, and Carnival Tuesday. Also, too, I think that although the Monday night mass was a little late, but I think that there has been improvement in terms of the processing of the parading of the Monday night mass bands. Going forward, I believe the issue of the marshalling on Carnival Tuesday with the mass bands is something that we need to seriously, find a solution. And maybe through this program we can make some suggestions with regards to that. And also to the strengthening of the parish carnivals that I believe also needs to be looked at, as well as, of course, we continue to look to strengthen our traditional masquerades.
Okay. Alan, in your view?
Well, I am looking on at the forest because I am outside, so I am not in the trees. And wonderful Spice Mass. From looking on from social media, from the photos from friends, pay-per-view, the shows, what a wonderful spectacle Grenada put on. Like Ali, the music really hit this year. It's the first time I am hearing a conversation about Spice Mass so far north in the Cayman Islands, a country that doesn't have a history of carnivals and mass and is new to it. This is and no real connection to the Eastern Caribbean. There's a big connection with Jamaica, so there's the obvious reggae connection. But the music is hitting so well that it's connected throughout the region. And so Spice Mass is really becoming, like the song says, the best mass by far. Mm-hmm. If I'm to look at areas for development, like you asked, Ali, I want us to focus more on the business side of it. And what I'm realizing is that the big brands, we need to get into the franchising, that side of the branding, selling that customer experience. I kind of think that customer experience side of it is coming mainly out of Trinidad, selling mass around the world that is happening in Grenada. We need to be part of that conversation in terms of owning the brand and not just the venue. We must refocus on owning that experience. So we must be part of the business of mass and not just the venue for the mass. We could dive into that a little bit more, but Ali spoke about the indigenous mass that makes Grenada the Shortney, the Veco. We need a space for them. We need a time, we need a place. Besides just the competition in Victoria, we need a space, and them battling either on Monday through Jab to try and have a space. We need to carve out a space for them. I kind of like this Saturday pan and come with your costume idea. Probably sometime Monday afternoon for pageant, but we need to carve out a space. And I'll stop there for now as we continue our discussion.
And I actually wanted to go into the visitor experience, Ali. So what were your thoughts on the promotions leading up to Spice Mass?
Well, first of all, with regards to the customer experience, several years ago, I invited our good friend, Elon Robinson, to present on customer experience for Spice Mass, and it was absolutely brilliant, people. I don't know if Elon still have that work that he did, but if he can update it and share it with Spice Mass in some forum, I believe it will go some way in bringing certain perspectives to the customer experience for Spice Mass, because that needs to be done. On the same business side that Elon spoke about, one of the shortcomings of Spice Mass this year, and Elon spoke about not we owning the venue and not the brand, we spoke about the good music that we had. And I was having a good chat after Carnival with one of our icons in the soca music, and he was making the point that, you know, many of the top artists that had really good songs this year, at the end of Carnival they broke. We had the major fetes. We've had the Crave, the Senile Fets and so on was actually put on by artists. Right. And you know how they function in solidarity with their fellow artists, so more or less they have done a lot of pro bono events. But in terms of having fets where they would go and earn and fill their pockets, we really did not have that this year. I think there was a decline in those sort of activities. So that is something that Spice must need to address. I don't know, and I heard early in the season promoters and so on complaining about paying the VAT to this government and then coming on and pay another set of funds license fee to Spice Mass, and then we had this uncertainty. I have not heard Spice Mass this year with regards to how many foreign acts that are coming and so on. So I don't know if that put a dampen on that aspect of the carnival, but definitely that needs to be sorted out. And our local promoters need to be encouraged, they need to be incentivized, they need to be facilitated to have more fets and more activities and so on.
Allow me to push back here a little bit, because this is a private venture. SMC puts on the carnival events.
Right.
So, and there's a promoters association.
Right.
Wouldn't the responsibility be on the private promoters to engage?
It is the responsibility of private promoters, but I also believe that Spice Mass need to create the environment, need to create the facilities, and not simply wait for the promoters to come forward, because we heard the complaints loud and clear, right? So that I believe that Spice Mass as a main facilitator and so on. And of course, I mean, the promoters need to be proactive as well, so that one hand cannot clap. But at the same time, there needs to be some sort of conversation where we can have a more active season where our artists can get work.
Right.
That's the same that the point Colin Elan was making with regards to how do we then ensure that at the end of the season that our creatives, they can put monies into their pocket, right, rather than simply putting out all these expenses, you know. And that's one with the soca and Groovy and Power. And then we have the other issue with the Calypsonians then, who a Calypsonian said to me, you know, to compete in the Calypso competition, at least cost him $3,000.
Well, but in fairness, the Calypsonians put out nothing. The majority of the artists in the finals had no background presentations. They had background vocalists, but very little on stage. Yeah. I mean, so they can't be compared, period.
It's not just the stage performances, but one, the recordings, and two, the writing of the scores. Writing of the scores now, I think, is like $600 per song, and then they do the recordings even if you may not hear them on radio stations. So that we have to find ways in which, at the end of the day, at least men could cover their overheads. And I do agree with you that, and we probably will get to that a little later on, that yeah, in the Calypso finals, the Mardi Gras, a lot of the presentations fell flat, and especially among the younger or the new Calypsonians, because the Calypsonian I was hoping that would do some damage on the Mardi Gras night. I thought that his presentation and performance generally was disappointing.
Okay, let's just go. We'll stick to the customer experience, but you went on to the business of Carnival, and that was introduced by Elan. Elan, I wanted to maybe have you share what does copyright look like in Cayman Islands or other islands that you've experienced. Because if we're talking about the business of Carnival, you know, money can't be dependent upon if you get a show. If you make good music, you ought to be paid for it. But there's absolutely no respect for copyrights in Grenada. We boast of having our youth ambassador in Vaughan, but we can't say we enforce any laws in keeping with his appointment with WIPO, which to me is embarrassing. But maybe you can share what the copyright situation in Cayman is or other islands where people actually can get paid. I know you know the Trinidad experience, etc.
Well, the Trinidad experience, the Jamaica experience, though not much different, because I still hear relatively large Jamaican artists still complaining about copyright and being paid for this, being paid for the creativity, for the product. And that's something that, one, we need to respect the artists and their creativity, but they too need to invest, because a lot of us and a lot of the soca men have not registered with a copyright organization, and if they have, don't fully understand the industry. I myself, I mean, I kind of did some research on it in terms of songwriter and producer and executive producer and owner and co-writer and arranger. When you look at the North American market, a long time when we were growing up, when we had an album that we used to look at the back of the album cover, you actually could go through all of these lines because they meant something. And I then asked myself, why all of this? Now we realizing this is where the money is. the writer, the arranger, who owns the song. And these are the aspects that we need to work out. The artists need to be encouraged to register with an appropriate copyright organization. I think the two around our region, I'll try to get the names. I think Cut Out of Trinidad is one. Certainly, there's WIPO, which does the international rally, and
there's one for
so
the
we
OECS
really
as well.
need to encourage. We really need to encourage our artists to look along those lines, because they take it for granted. They are just creatives, and sometimes I think we expect a little too much of them, that we expect them to know everything. They are creatives. They're creating the product. They know how to write a good soca. They know how to perform it. Do they understand the business of it? Several of them don't. So we need to be hand-holding. And I would dare say probably SMC, probably the ministry. We now have a ministry of creative, whatever. We have an office for the creatives. They should be encouraging the youngsters. They should be encouraging the creatives. All of the Calypsonians, the soca men, to register, to assist them to register, to deal with them on the business of carnival and the business of writing and mass and owning the product. University of Trinidad and Tobago has a degree program in carnival arts. And all that, the management of it is all part of it. We need to be encouraging probably more people to get involved and study the business of carnival.
Absolutely. And seeing that you give the plug for the University of Trinidad and Tobago, allow me to give the plug for Edna Manley in Jamaica, which likewise has a cultural management degree that, you know, we ought to be taking advantage of, and we need to be intentional and deliberate in training our people to take care of the carnival arts.
I heard both you and Elan, and I know I have two friends that have degrees in carnival arts from UTT, and I know of brilliant Grenadians who have gone to Edna Manley and study, and they're nowhere near Spice Mass Corporation, nowhere near the Ministry of Culture, nowhere near the Office of Creatives. What do you say to that?
I say that we need to be intentional and deliberate in our training, and ought to be intentional and deliberate in our utilization of the skills.
And employment.
Well, likewise, likewise, because education is not for education's sake. Those days are gone, right? Yeah. It is the utilization of the skills and taking care of that cultural ecosystem, because we can't sing or dance, but maybe we can contribute in other ways, and that's the philosophy.
But we need to do, I make that point to say that we need to do a better job of recruiting, because there are persons who have gone out there and study cultural related fields. But what Elan was speaking about, how do we develop the industry? We speak about the industry, we speak about it loosely basically. But in terms of the structures and so on, one, the copywriting. So artists understand copyright, the performing arts and so on. And also too, we have human capacity on island with persons who have gone on to do master's degree in copyright law and so on. So there are human resource available to us that we need to pull on to assist. We don't have to get all these quote-unquote foreign consultants. There are persons within Ireland with the training and so on and so forth that we need to tap into, know who they are, bring them together. But I agree with Ireland, we need to, not just the Ministry of Creatives, Ireland. For years, I've been speaking about the Ministry of Trade. What is their role, right? If we say that we're looking at music and so on as a
tangible good,
as an intangible good to trade, to export.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So it's not just the Ministry of Creatives. The Ministry of Trade need to redefine itself. You seriously believe that we have a product like Carnival with music and mass and so on and so forth. What is your role? Yeah, what you want to do? In 2025, only trading nutmeg and cocoa? No, so that we need to rethink and realign, government ministries and departments and so in a serious way. And I'm not saying that. We talk about it, but we are not putting the structures in place where, and we speak about the business, simple thing, merchandising of carnival products, The year I spent as chair, we had brought in from China in the middle of COVID. Most of the stuff never came. But we still, 2-3 years on, persons are leaving the island without a jug, without a cup, without a bandana, without a Grenadian product that represents or from Spice Mass, and that is a low-hanging fruit.
Yes, in fairness, there was some attempt this year, because I know that they were advertising merchandise at the preliminary rounds, etc. So it is a step in the right direction, but a small step, a very small step, and hence that too needs to be grown.
Yeah, we need to make the investment.
Correct. I also noted, just as we are talking about the business and we spoke about copyright, some artists have been smart enough to align and put their music in like of Spotify so that they can get paid. Now, Elan spoke of the educating of the artists as to where do you place your music so your music can work for you. You have done the work, so allow the music to work for you. And this is another one of the places that we can strategically allow Grenadian music to be exposed to the world and the artists can earn.
Yeah, using the new media and using the new platforms, but also if you look at a guy like Lavaman, for years Lavaman had done a lot of merchandising around himself and so on, and that is something that artists can look at. But definitely the use of the new platforms, and that is where the education of the artists with regards to their product. And I say to them that once you're an artist there, you see yourself as a convey for a lunch and meat on the shelf. Your product to be sold, not just your music, but your whole person and so on and so forth. You look internationally as what these artists, Rihanna is a billionaire, selling and using her brand and so on and developing products around herself and so on, from lingerie to perfumes to this to that and the other, so that there is a lot that can be done that our artists needs to tap into. But as Elan made the point, education, the training, and so on to bring them up to speed.
Let's stick with the customer experience a little bit. The collaboration with the GTA this year, what were your thoughts?
A lot left to be desired. I, for one, believe that the GTA must take full responsibility for the regional and international promotion of Carnival. In other words, there is not enough money allocated to Spice Mass Corporation for them to market our Carnival regional and internationally. Elan spoke now about the new markets with regards to Cayman. St. Vincent and the Grenadines have a presence in Spice Mass every year. There were 2 catamarans come down with hundreds of Vincentians, but also to Vinci Mass send the marketing manager who I've met many years ago to Spice Mass every year. St. Lucia Carnival, they always have a presence in Trinidad Mass and other regional carnivals.
I see a billboard on Kirani James Boulevard with Tobago.
With Tobago and so on. We're not doing that sort of regional engagement. A couple of years ago, we engaged the GTA. We were in St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and Barbados. We need to revisit that in a very serious way. Because what you see happening now is that there's a carnival movement throughout the region. And when you think that you have to market in England and the USA and so on, people within the Caribbean come in droves, hundreds and thousands of Caribbean people from St. Lucia, Dominica, Barbados, Antigua, and so on coming to our carnivals. And I saw the regional marketing needs to be strengthened, and GTA must take the lead, in my respectful view, as well as the diaspora, of course. London, Toronto, Montreal, New York, and new market areas. And I believe that the GTA is not doing sufficient in ensuring. We also had a collaboration some years ago with Inter-Caribbean, and we actually named the Inter-Caribbean as a official airline of Spice Mass, but we had the relationship and so on and so forth, and all these things need to be revisited. So we have made some strides in these areas, but I think that strategically we have let a few things slip through the cracks.
The Grenada Airport Authority, your thoughts when you come in, because I know you travel, when you came back to Grenada on one of those occasions, so what were your impressions?
The Grenada Airport Authority, we're not creating a presence as we ought to. Yes, there is. When you exit the airport, you get the steel band, you get the jab, you get and so on. But he's not hitting you in your face as we ought to. Long time we used to get the mannequins with the costumes inside and so on, and that needs to start. Let's say middle June, July. People need to know Carnival coming. So it's not the last 2 weeks in August or the end of July that we're doing the marketing at the international airport. That needs to start weeks before with the decoration. Once Independence finish, and so we need to do much more stronger branding of Spice Mass at the international airport. You know.
Alan, as someone participating from outside, because you're an important stakeholder as well, Ali asked the question, I didn't hear the response, so I'll give you the opportunity now, first of all, to let us know whether or not you get over the Tabanka yet.
No, not answer.
All right. How up to date did you feel when it comes to the happenings of Spice Mass?
I kind of had to dig. I had to be, we keep using the word intentional, because I wanted to. I wanted to hear Soca Monarch. I wanted to hear Calypso Monarch. I wanted to hear Pan. That I had to go look for the link for the pay-per-view. It wasn't hitting me as I went on to Spice Mass page, a page that came up with the shows that were coming up on the pay-per-view, and it wasn't catching. And we really need to be intentional about how we sell this product of Spice Mass. I heard Ali talking about the marketing of it, and it brought me back. I did a little piece on my Facebook page that we treating our Spice Mass just like how we treating nutmeg and cocoa. We selling the raw product. We need to be selling the value added on that product. What is that value added? We need to determine that. We need to be determining the value of this product that we have and sell it. So I remember a few years ago, 2 young men at the time dared to rechristen Grenada, the home of 100,000 jab jab. And then I heard, no, 99,999, because this particular media person was not a jab jab and he would never be a jab jab, missing the whole vision of what it was. Now look at where that nation of 100,000 have gotten to. Our music is now a brand. Jab Jab itself is now a brand, whether we want to accept that or not. What do we do with that going forward is where we need to look. So we need to be marketing this product to the rest of the world. And when they get to Grenada, we need to have things for them to do. I saw one of the promoters had a visit to Paraclete, where they cooked at what was called an indigenous oil dung and an indigenous jab jab experience. And they could be village mass right through. So there's a spin-off effect into the communities. Shotney in Shantimel and Veco in Victoria and Wild Indian in St. David, and and we kind of have these areas that we know that we could work on these particular things. But we have to take the Caribbean by storm, and we have to lead. We have to be outside there and be intentional. We have to be part of Vincy Mass. We have to be part of St. Lucia Mass. We have to be part of West Indies cricket. I saw Carifta games being advertised during the Spice Mass shows. Why we can't do the same for Spice Mass in other carnivals? Those are the things we need to be focusing on. there's a whole lot to go with this whole product, but we need to really look at the business of this product that we have and how we sell it to the world, how we get that message out there.
What worked for you in learning about the things that were happening in Grenada? Was it the official website and the media platforms associated with it, or were there other websites or bloggers that was giving you the information that you needed for you to continue to feel connected to Spice Mass as the Tabanka ripened?
It was really the bloggers and the vloggers and the others. SMC didn't hit me. Their website and the social media presence didn't hit me. The others who were in the parties and were kind of bringing the life and the videos from in the stands, and I don't expect SMC to do it all, but I expect them to be the driving force. And the website can't be the same 365 days a year, especially when we 1 week out from Carnival or we 2 weeks out from Carnival. It has to change. There needs to be an excitement, We feel Carnival in the air. We feel when Christmas is coming, the breeze changes, people operate differently. And so there needs to be a change on the Spice Mart's profile when Carnival is approaching. We launch Carnival and it's like it goes dead, and then it eventually picks up and continue. We just put an ad on a page that says Groovy is next week, preliminaries are next week. I had to dig to find an order of appearance. These are things that are supposed to be popping at you. They're supposed to be on top of your social media page. As I turn on to, and with all the algorithms and AI nowadays, these are easy things to do. Once people looking at Carnival, Spice Mass is supposed to be popping on top of the list.
Right. You mentioned the clips and clippings. Looking from afar, because you had to experience pay-per-view, what was your take on the coverage of the shows? Were you satisfied with the video that you got? Or did you feel as though you were in the stadium, as it were?
I did. There could have been a lot better coverage of what was there. A whole lot better coverage could have been done. More cameras would have been better for a better feel. The set for the commentators, I reached out about that. It needs to be lively. It needs to be festive. It needs to be to show that there's something going on. And I reached out already and commented, and I'm told we will see improvements for next year. So I look forward to that. But I wanted to see more shots, more clips, more wider shots, more personal shots at times. I wanted to see the expression on the artist's face as they deliver as they did the deliveries, and so some of it, I got a feel, but I didn't get the full array of what was going on. So I kind of looked at Soca Monarch and had to piece together shots from people in the stands to see who artists appeared through the stands, and when they went into the crowd, how they disappeared and how they left the stage. It kind of left me wanting when I looked at the pay-per-view. But Generally, I got a good feel of what was going on.
All right. So from what I'm hearing is that I heard that we have moved away seemingly from a 6-camera shot to probably 2 or 3 and a dependency on drones, and we lost that. And I don't know about the expertise of the switcher, because what you seem to be accounting for there is a switching problem. If you're not able to see artists appearing from the stands or disappearing, etc., that means somebody probably fell asleep at the wheel. But again, as you said, work in progress and a commitment to do better.
Yes, there certainly was one, because I reached out and I got positive responses, and they understood, next year, look out for it. Will be 1,000 times better.
Okay, all right. I noticed that the first 30 minutes have quickly gone by, so it is time for our first break. So listeners and viewers, we'll take this first break and we'll be back shortly. We're doing our Spice Mass review.
Are you ready to take charge of your money, build wealth, and protect your family's legacy? Then join us on October 9th, 2025 at Radisson Grenada Beach Resort for your Financial Future 2.0 Legacy, Literacy, and Liberation, a one-day financial summit designed to break cycles, build wealth, and leave a lasting legacy. You'll gain real-life budgeting hacks, a money mindset reboot, steps to create generational wealth, and practical tips on investing, estate planning, insurance, health, and business finance, all from expert speakers who know how to turn knowledge into action. With 2 inspirational keynotes, 3 powerful panel discussions, and 6 breakout sessions, you will leave with your personalized action plan for success. Don't wait. Secure your seat today. Tickets are EC $350 at disruptiveleadershipconference.com/YFF. Your Financial Future 2.0. Your next chapter starts here.
Have you heard about the new Softweave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Softweave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue. Available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Softweave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information. Asian Spa and Wellness Cafe, nestled in the serene surroundings of Le Phare Bleu, Calivini Bay, St. George, is the perfect spot to unwind and relax after a stressful event or when you wish to spoil yourself in the most comfortable and relaxing atmosphere. They offer many different massage modalities, including thigh hammer, washer and cupping, signature thigh deep tissue massage, also facials to depuff and tighten pores, deep cleanse full body, hair and nail treatments and more. Take a walk down to the cafe for authentic Thai breakfasts and delicious traditional dishes. Choose from our special mixed drinks, both hot and cold. Opens daily. Visit Asian Spa and Wellness Cafe today, Le Phare Bleu, Calivini Bay, St. George, because you will not regret you did.
At Oasis Pet and Garden, we bring you the best products at the best prices nationwide. Layers and broiler chicks. All animal feeds and supplies available, including supplements, waterers and feeders, and lots more. For the farmers, we have you covered, literally. Greenhouse plastic, premium quality ground cover, hydroponic systems, pesticides and fungicides, rain guns, weed whackers, and more. Visit the Oasis Pet and Garden today. Conveniently located along the Wester Hall Main Road, Wester Hall, St. David's,
and Melville Street, St. George's. Now serving you at 2 locations. Visit us today.
Viewers and listeners, this Carnival Review 2025. Ali, let's look at the streets. We boast of having the best Carnival Monday in the world. That's hands down. So let's look at Carnival Monday and let's probably see how it unfolded, what worked and what needs to be improved. So I'm going to focus on, let's say, we start off with our Juve. So we did 3 shows put on by SMC on Monday. There is Juve, there's the pageant, and then there's Monday Night Mass. No other carnival has 3 shows of that magnitude. But let's look at Juve in terms of your thoughts as to how it unfolded, what you heard, and what was the feel generally nationally.
Juve was excellent. By and large, the masqueraders, the revelers that's the general feel you get. People had fun. Look at the social media, especially the visitors and so on. However, the jab, there is a need for us to ensure and to preserve the traditions of the jab. I believe that Grenville, with the Lafayette jab, they have done a wonderful job. And I tell myself, God's willing, if I'm still around next year, please God, that I want to experience Juve in Grenville, Carnival Monday next year. Because I think there is a intentional and purposeful engagement with ensuring that jab in Grenville is traditional. I also know that Ian Charles is hell-bent on ensuring that the jab experience is traditional and is preserved. So that to my mind, is extremely important. That, yes, we have the nice Juve, we have the nice jab, we want the jab experience and so on, but we want to ensure that as much as it's possible that it remains some authentic features.
So let me hear, the intrigue of the jab is there, and is there not just nationally, but internationally.
Internationally.
But we have to ensure that we have jabs on the streets of Grenada and not dirty people.
And not just dirty people. So that's extremely important. So the jab with their songs and the beating of the buckets and the drums and so on, and all of the different paraphernalia with the chain and so on and so forth, we have to ensure that that aspect of the Juve is there. So I think, and the other thing now, and it's something that we speak for years, is that at what time, what's the cutoff time, that the jab come off the street for the next segment of the Monday. And that's extremely important. While the organized jab bands will finish maybe 9-10 a.m., you have large amounts of dirty people, if you say, or jab masquerades that will stay in the town centers for a considerable amount of time until maybe early afternoon. And it is not that you do not want the jab, because you very well be the king of jab, but you want to ensure that we create enough space for the second segment, which is the pageant, and now is the whatever they call these costumes now on the Monday evening. So that has to be clear of what we do for the second segment, and then the final segment, which is a unique and powerful feature for Carnival or the Monday Night Mass. Now what's happening is that some of the large fancy mass bands, they're not fancy mass bands anymore. They're putting out jab bands, they're putting out Monday evening bands, and they're putting out Monday Night Mass bands, so that the stretch on the resources continue to impact on the timeliness of the Monday parade.
I want us to take a step back. Is the challenge one of the jab bands staying out too late on the streets? Or is it a challenge of the jab bands not coming out early enough onto the streets?
Good question. And I would say that the jab bands not coming out early enough. Because if they do at 4-5 a.m., I believe by 9 o'clock they must be tired, because jab is a tiring experience.
But it's also Juve, which is break of dawn.
Break of dawn.
And in August, there's no part of 7 a.m. that's the break of dawn. That's hot sun.
I know personally that a lot of the band leaders do their utmost to organize at the break of dawn. But I think they need to move rather than wait for all of the persons who say they want to play jab to meet them.
Vibes mass style.
Vibes mass style. People need to meet the mass. So that the Monday package is an excellent package. It needs streamlining. We have made progress in terms of, as I said, the Monday Night Mass seemed to have got underway a bit earlier this year, and kudos to, Spice Mass got a lot of leaks for that.
Yes.
So we need to give credit for Spice Mass. And if you may allow me, Elon put a lot of leaks on Spice Mass with regards to the Facebook page and the new media platforms, and I would say to Elon that that's a good junction to use this platform to urge the government to make more resources available to Spice Mass Corporation. Spice Mass Corporation needs a serious injection of capital to do all the things that we say we want them to do. I'm not sure if they could do more with the limited budget that they have. You see, and so that the funding of Carnival continues to be an issue. It's one thing to say raising prize money for persons that win and so on and so forth. But the next thing is the operation of Carnival. You know, because at Carnival time, the Spice Mass Corporation need to employ additional people and so on to assist with that workload.
Let me push back here a little bit, in that it is my understanding that there was a supplemental budget and monies allocated to Spice Mass to the amount of $3 million, which is excellent. But at the end of July, you can't do anything with the $3 million because Carnival is almost over.
That's not for...
So I'm hopeful, just to bolster your point, that $3 million would not be supplemental, but be part of the budgeting for Spice Mass, so that not only their operations can improve, but the employing of the appropriate people to take care of the social media that Elon spoke about, to the people who are into project management, to ensure the proper production of our organized chaos that we call Juve. These types of resources can be hired and delivered.
Yes, Spice Mass need to hire more personnel. Like, for instance, when we speak of the parade of the bands and so on, the police force stretched in terms of human resources. And kudos to the commissioner and his men and women. They are stretched. You need additional security hands, you need additional marshals and so on. You have to pay. You know what time when we were adjudicating calypsos and so on, we never received even a stipend or gas change. But now the calypso judges and so on, and it must be fair to them, they have to receive a stipend. They travel all around the island and so on, judging calypsos. So that there is additional expenditure. But that why is a supplemental budget at the end of, let us get it at the budget reading, so that the Spice Mass Corporation can plan properly. And it will be interesting to know whether or not that supplemental is not to pay past debts, or if it's not just to increase prize monies and so on. Because there is a need for the operation, but I would really love to see as well that appearance fees at all levels increase. Because, you know, when persons speak of increased cost of production for the artists and so on, it begins at the grassroots level. It's not just what you see at the finals, you know, so it's a lot. So, but just to go back to the question though, I think the Monday package, the Juve, would need to really make a concerted effort to get that jab bands out on time. We need at the same time to have some punctuation of time, whether it's 9 a.m., 10 a.m. for the jab bands the Juve bands to clear the road, and also we have some...
So the streets can be clean.
The streets can be clean. The Elan spoke about the traditional mass and carving out. Listen, man, these people with the old mass, it's just pure Hollywood. And while we continue to applaud the jab bands, we need to create that space and that platform for the old masqueraders to be seriously highlighted on a Monday morning.
And it seemed this year they were absent. I mean, there were a few, don't get me wrong.
You have to look for them.
The numbers,
you have to look for them. And sadly, you know, a lot of the old masqueraders, they're falling out, you know, of course, old age and so on. So that's an area that we need to look at.
Just coming back to this though, it seems as though we saw an increase in the use of animals, live and otherwise, this Juve. Is this a direction that we want to get back?
We have to stamp that out. We have to stamp that out. I want to comment on that. We have to, the jab, the days for playing with serpent and this and live animals, the days for that is over. That itself that sends a negative message, regionally, internationally, but fundamentally, cruelty to animals ought not to be encouraged at Juve morning or any time else. And as such, we need to be conscientious of that.
And there's no part of our emancipation.
There's no part of
jab that
at all. You know, and there's so much other paraphernalia that create the vibes that we really and truly don't need live animals. So that we need to be conscientious of that.
All right, Elan, I know you had a contribution here.
Yeah, same. I was about to speak about the animals that I saw. There seemed to be a whole influx this year. I saw live chickens being used. I saw I don't know. I saw snakes of all kinds. I saw a whole suitcase of frogs at one point, and I don't know what would have created. Why we gone back to that? There was a time when we had banned all of this, and I don't know what would have caused that, but we really need to move back to a time when we move away from this kind of animal cruelty.
All right. Thank you. Elan, I think your camera is off, so if you can just check that for us, please, because we also would want to see you, not just hear you. The Monday pageant, Ali and Elan did mention about that, because the creation of that space on Monday, we saw not only the fancy mass bands, not so fancy because they came out in their Monday wear.
Yes, Monday,
but the agreement, right? The agreement with the SMC was that the traditional mass bands came out on Monday and they paraded to no one. And is that fair to that signature group of our carnival? One could argue is that we can't compete in fancy mass with the likes of Trinidad and others, but we can beat them on the traditional mass art forms. But here we have on the climax of our carnival, they're parading to no one at 1 p.m., 2 p.m. because of the magnitude of our Juve and the pending preparation of our Monday night mass. How do we get people to see the Shortney, the Veco, the Wild Indian, the Apache, and the other forms? Where do we create that space in Carnival for them?
Tuesday evening. The traditional mass, in my respectful view, must lead off the parade on Tuesday. So that while Tuesday generally, persons come out early. 12, 1 o'clock, because we do not have the massive Juve in the tongue of St. George to deal with. Yes, you have Goa and Satés and St. David's, but Tuesday, in my respectful view, Tuesday afternoon, in my respectful view, will be the better day and the better time to highlight the parade of the traditional mass. You also have to take into consideration that these traditional mass bands, especially from the rural areas, Hermitage, Shotney, and so on, they want to go back into the communities before nightfall to parade as well at home, so that facility though can be worked out. Monday, it's tough. Monday maybe a little bit overloaded as well from the Juve, because we can speak from now until next year. There'll be job Monday afternoon, 1, 2 o'clock. Yeah, right? So it's difficult to control. So I believe that on Tuesday, you see the traditional pageant, I remember years ago when the pageant was held in this national stadium. And I was minister at the time, you were chair, and we took the strategic decision that, listen, we can't continue to do pageant in the national stadium because really and truly we don't have the viewership. Apart from the economic or the financial consideration where we're expending significant resources and not receiving significant monies back, that we had to do something about it. Ideally, you would want a stage some way. Well, the road is a stage, but ideally we want a ramp or something where the masquerade can seriously have a portrayal with bleachers on both sides. But we do have some sort of challenges with the physical infrastructure on island with regards to where we can do it, you know. But I would strongly suggest that on Tuesday we look to bring the traditional mass in the tongue of St. George.
And let me just ask, just an overall of the spectator experience, people had fun in 2025. Are the spectators being left out somewhat, just because on the roadsides it's a small sidewalk, there's vending everywhere, there are limited number of bleachers available. Are we doing a disservice? Because at the end of the day, people want to parade for someone.
Yeah.
So how can we improve the spectator experience as well?
I will give it to Elon if he's online, because I believe that Elon has some brilliant suggestions with regards to spectator experience. In our time, we did introduce the bleachers, and there were one or two, but less than in our time when we should be having more. There are some open spaces that we can use to do the bleachers, and I said that the bleachers for the elderly persons or families with children and so on, and also with the mobile toilets along the bleachers and so on is extremely important as well for that experience. But I would want to hear Elon on that subject, because I think he's really deep with regards to that issue.
Let me put on the project management hat here. And we need to treat Carnival like the project that it is. It creates a unique environment. It must have a budget. It has a start time and an end time, which are the main tenets of a project. All right? So let's treat Carnival like the project it is. One, it needs a budget. And we need to start to talk budget and investment in Carnival. When we know what we have to spend, then we can design anything around that. We can then employ, and it needs to come in time. It can't come in the middle of the project. It needs to come at the initiation of the project. So there are generally 5 stages of a project. From initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closeout. 5 stages. We can't give the money at the monitoring stage or the execution stage. Right? So from the time we know what money we have, we could start to design what we want to do, cut out what we need to, put in what we must. That gives us a big start. So yes, I gave SMC some blows, and I'm glad that Ali jumped in and said they need the money, and they need the money early. How much money do we need? How much are we willing to invest? Look at what the Spice Mass is doing for the Grenada economy for that week of Carnival. We need to invest in it. But in terms of the spectator experience, we can't squeeze everybody from, we have grown past halfway of the lagoon from Foodland to flow on the Carnage. We need to expand the route, stretch it so that we have more spaces and we have to create that environment so that people are willing to go longer and further along the route for a better spectator experience. We need to have the bleachers in the right places. We need to have the toilet facilities. We need to have the merchandising along the route. We need to have play areas for children, for the dead spots. We need to create a whole environment around the mass that allows us to expand the route. Why not start Granats? Why not start Foliage? Are we looking at all of those areas to start expanding the route? But then we need to manage the route. So we can't be starting in Granats at whatever time we feel to, and then by the time we reach halfway on the Carnage, the sunset already, nobody could see the beauty of the costumes, and all of that we need to encourage. So good project managers to manage Carnival as part of the SMC product. Good logistics management to get it, because we need that proper management. Then we need the artists are doing their part, and we can't fault them. The soca men are doing excellently. Calypsonians, the mass band leaders, they are doing their part. We need to do the other parts that support them. Manage the product properly, manage the budget properly, do the logistics, understand from the budget what we want to deliver, what are the key parts, what spectators want to see. If you come out with your wife and children, or you come with all your children, you have 3 children, and they're standing on the side of the road, they're too short to see what's going on, people mashing them, they have no toilet facilities. Then what is the spectator experience? And those are the things we need to carve out areas where we have bleachers, toilets, a bar, food available, and possibly even things for children to do, a little playground, a little run area, a little swing, a little bouncy castle, a little something that creates these experiences so that children can come and enjoy, or families can come out and enjoy a proper day of Mass. And like Ali spoke, I'm happy to hear a space for the for Old Mass and the traditional Mass. Ali said Tuesday morning, maybe that's the best time. But I want to, and I kind of posited, I want to see the heart of tongue being part of it in St. George's, being used as that, that traditional hub. We could bring back a little life into the heart of St. George's for a part of the carnival.
Okay. It is time for our second break, so we'll take our second break. When we come back, we'll zero in on the music of 2025 and certainly have some of your contributions. We'll be right back.
Are you longing to taste authentic, flavorful dishes from Thailand? Then look no further. Konthai, the newest restaurant located at the back of Galleria Mall top floor, is the place to satisfy your taste buds for Thai dishes that are well seasoned with fresh local spices. They offer a great selection of sumptuous dishes that will tantalize your taste buds. Visit Konthai today because the food is good, the ambiance is great, and the staff friendly. Available on Carabites and Yogo Grenada. For more information, call 456-0074 or visit konthaigrenada.com or stop by the new Galleria Mall, Grandin St. George. I'll meet you there.
At Oasis Pet and Garden, we bring you the best products at the best prices nationwide. We also supply black tanks and plumbing supplies. Wholesale prices available on selected items. Visit the Oasis Pet and Garden today. Conveniently located along the Wester Hall Main Road, Wester Hall, St. David's,
and Melville Street, St. George's. Now serving you at 2 locations. Visit us today for all your pet and garden needs.
Something powerful is coming to Grenlec customers. Smarter service, more convenience, a greener way to connect. Get ready for a better way to manage your electricity service. Coming soon. Grenlec, empowering you.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. We're talking Carnival. We're doing a review of Spice Mass 2025. Alan, you gave your overall impression of the music, and that was positive. But let's just zero in a little bit on the grooves. What stood out to you? And I also want to get your impression of the incorporation of jab in groovy. I think when groovy started, I never would have conceptualized jab in groovy. So overall impression of the grooves, what stood out to you, and your take on jabbing groovy.
Well, Colin, I remember when groove started, when G-Park brought groove, we always used to say it was the swing and sway as opposed to the jump and wave. And somehow we have gotten jab to swing and sway as opposed to chip along the road. And it speaks to the artists buying into the vision that then Minister Gill with the 100,000 jab and building an industry around it. The music this year, Colin, spot on. We hit the spot. And I noted somewhere along the line that there was an investment. I heard of an investment where Kenny Phillips' son came up and did some work with producers and arrangers. and it was a really interactive session from what I understand. And we have, yes, understood that part of the arranging, but we have been able to infuse our own jab beat, what comes from our heart, into the grooves. I was so taken up with the grooves, one after the other. I love the young artists. I love the young lady who
Shakina.
Help me with her name.
Yeah. Sakina. Mm.
Shakina, wonderful voice, delivery.
Let me ask you this. As we looked at the final, did the finals results matter? I mean, going in, we probably said it was too close to call. There are about 3, 4, 5 people that could win. Did the final results matter? Did they just get it right, or no matter who they crowned, the song's so good, we just happy?
Well, I think at the end of the day, my comment was the judges got it right. What was the order? I mean, whether they put number 9 first or second or third, I think the production and the show was so good that it could have been any order. I generally thought for the soca and the groovy that they got it right. And being a former judge, all of us, we know we put on different airs when we sit at the table. So I kind of don't like to sit in judgment when I'm not judging. When I'm not judging, I try not to put on to come up with a score sheet with a list of artists.
I put it this way,
because it's a different skill set.
I put it when you're not scoring, because you're always judging. Don't try that.
No, when I'm not scoring, sorry. Yes, I stand corrected. When I'm not scoring, because we all listen, and I think that's the curse that we have, that we can't just enjoy songs without analyzing them after judging for 20 years.
Correct. Ali, let's switch over to the Power Soca. What was your assessment overall? And what do you envision will be playing Labor Day, Notting Hill, Miami, and eventually in Trinidad?
When we started this Power Soca Mona in Grenada, it was jump and wave, move, run here and run there. Similarly to what I refer to as the romanticism of the job, with the infusion in the groove. Early in the season, I was a bit concerned that I wasn't hearing power. I put it that I was hearing somewhere in the middle ground between groove and power, not power. And symptoms, sparky and electrify, that's one of the early power that hit this spot. And then Modi, wicked intro, nice intro. But the power that really strike out from instant, a little Kerry. And at the Power Soca finals, there was really and truly not a dull moment. So there was an excellent catch of Power Soca without the tagline being jump and wave and run, which I think is testament to excellent writing, because the writers of these songs were able to give you a hook line. In Power Soca, the crowd want to sing along with something and jump with something. And Colin, let us pay respect to the Grenada audience and fan base, because they contributed significantly to what we all know was an excellent soca monarch. In that you felt that persons appreciated good music and good performances, and they were not just there for who they came to see win. And I think that was really, really impressive. Secondly, the background vocals, I thought this year they are stepping up their game. And if you really want to, in Boba's performance, in Boba 473 performance, I would encourage listeners to listen to the performance again and to but pay particular attention to the background vocals. Boba could have do and sing all he want, but these background vocals kept the harmony, they kept that thing together, and it was beautiful, beautiful performance. Now, the MP3 players and so on, they need to stay focused. They need to concentrate on what they are doing. If you listen keenly, in one of our top groovy performances of the night, there was an advertisement in the middle of one of these guys' performances. Right? And so I'm saying to the technical people, they need to pay attention. Let us in the fans have a good time. But when you're on stage, you can't have a good time. Disappointingly, in the Soca Monarch, there was the song system was one of the disappointing features of our carnival, unfortunately. And I know that Judah songs have maintained high standards over the years, but this year I think there was some concern. I mean, in Terra's first performance, the feedback, not for one artist, but too many artists, especially in the groovy part of the competition. All night, yeah, it was really not, and we're selling that to the world. I don't know what was the technical issue. It is not something that you will associate Judah song with. I don't know what was the issue, but yeah, it was not clean. And at some point in time, I did not believe that the power on the microphone was really helping the lead singers, and so that is things that we need to strengthen. But generally, yeah, it was a powerful Soca Monarch from start to finish, both groove and power. Colin, you would recall when this groovy Monarch started out, we used to have 10 persons, and then the artists, a few of us. And even when we joined the groove with the power, people used to come, the groove will come in 20, 30, 100, but now the stadium is, people are rushing now to get there on time for the commencement of the groovy Soca Monarch competition, which I think is testament to the artists and to the music and so on and so forth, and that's a very heartening, it's excellent.
Mm-hmm. Neither of you responded, but I'm going to put it again. What do we anticipate to be playing? Labor Day, Notting Hill, Miami Carnival, onto Trinidad.
We have a lot of good music, but one music that we played is Carlo Reef. Really give me the griefs. That song simply has gone viral already. But just to say, Colin, that there have been a lot of good songs that I believe that may not have enjoyed the best airplay, and what comes to this year, and I hope that the DJs and the radio personalities and so on can remedy it after Carnival. I think that Skinny Bantan Dowe in the Mid is a sweet soca. I think he hit this spot again. You know, some of the big soca songs, and from Blessings of last year to pre-hit songs, killer hit songs, we seem to have a history of our big songs making it big outside before we come back in. I hope that Skinny Bantan has a really, really good song. Now both Sakina and Terra the Governor on that rhythm there. Sakina and Terra with that laugh way that he have there, that he competed in the groovy. I only heard that Children of the Chain. And that guy is very spiritual, they're very deep when he's singing jab songs. But I only heard the songs in the prelim, and took note of it in the semis, both songs. But those songs really did not enjoy the best of airplay throughout. Those two songs are beautiful songs. I see Khalifa came in nicely in the Kong for the Road match, but I get Horn this year and I'm moving on. He's a really sweet soca as well that can carry, that have legs. But I expect, apart from Dread Lion, I would say Modi's song is going to create problems. Little Kerry, and that what I refer to as the jab jazz, Vaughn and Terra, Jab Decision. That is a hell of a song. That is a wonderful composition. That is sophisticatedly put together. It is one of the all-time. And not just Grenada, man. That song will stand the test of time, is my respectful view. That's a beautiful, beautiful composition. Jab Decision.
Elan?
Yeah, if I'm to jump in here, I think Terra took it for me this year. Terra is I think, on top of my list this year. Let me give them jab. I mean, I think the children probably tired hearing it in the car. It's on repeat. And like Ali mentioned, some of the songs that were not really on rotation, I think will make it big outside. That Terra give them jab. Skinny Bantan. Down in the meat. Or when you're eating.
That's a great song.
I kind of picking up now on Mr. Killer's Jab Evolution. A different kind of song, but a nice haunting after carnival jab that could do some damage outside it. One Nation, One Jab, short pre.
Yeah, that's a beautiful song.
I love Dash, Last Drop. I think those are some of the songs beside all the others, but I think some of those that didn't really play as much as they should will make it big outside than some of these that we had always on rotation in Grenada. When we have time to listen and to stop. Sometimes, a song kind of hit you when you sit down by your desk in work, as opposed to jumping on the road, or it catch you in your car on your way to work. I think those songs will really hit at that point when we expand the listenership.
Okay. Calypsos, Ali.
I think we had a very good crop of calypsos, to be frank. And what is emerging now is that we are having a situation which is really healthy, in my respectful view. You have calypso writers. They are old calypsonians who no longer competing, but when you have the Mr. X, the Ajamo, the Black Wizard, I ain't sure if we will do any song this year, Scholar, Sour Serpent, and others writing for other calypsonians and so on, even if they are competing. It augurs well to the general quality of the calypsos, because you have persons who could sing and perform, but not necessarily to write. Writing is probably the most difficult aspect of it, and I think we had very good calypsos this year, to be honest.
Did we have good quality calypsos, or did we have an even field of calypsos?
You're always asking tough questions. I think that some calypsonians, they were one-song bajans. They had one good song in the first round, and second round they were not as strong, so to speak. And I think that in some respects would have impacted on the crowd response to the judge's decision on the match per night, with my respectful view. Because there were calypsonians who did excellent in the first round and second round, but really, if you listen to the songs, and I keep saying to persons, performance is one thing, but calypso competitions is generally song competitions. When you look at the criteria, or 75% of what the judges score card really looks at is the song. Lyrics 30, melody 30, originality 15. You know, that's 75% of the 100 on the song itself. So that you may have strong performances, but if your song is not strong, you may have issues. You know, and what I thought is that it was good to see young guys, Charlton, Shamak, IMG, and I love the IMG. I think he had, unfortunately though, IMG gave his best performance in the tent. But I came quietly expecting him to topple some big names in the March Gras, if I may confess aloud. But I love his two compositions and his performances. He seems to be a real good calypso guy. And Charlton and Shamak has the voice and the personality and so on to deliver these materials. It's good to see Big G with his consistency, right? And that was good. I thought as well that, and I commended Rootsman Kelly, his melody in both compositions were very strong. Very strong, and I say to persons, are you listening? Because Kelly melody was danceable in both rounds, and his compositions by no stretch of the imagination was weak. And then of course you would have had Finley Jeffrey the scholar, and I think that part of the critic on scholar winning the crown is maybe a general take of what I call the scholar fatigue. The Grenadians are a little tired with him now. He has won so many. But I think material for material, Scholar gave a masterful performance in the first round. That's undeniably. And his shot in his song in the second round, the bull pistol as he called it, is not is no weaker than other second round songs. So you see, give and take, you know, in the coolness of setting out and so on, setting back and really listening to the calypsos. And I have looked over the tapes multiple times, as I do every carnival, regardless. You know, I can see that I am satisfied with the quality of the calypsos. That young man, Edma Payne, very good artist, and what I like, his first song on Haiti, is those things must be encouraged, because I always encourage calypsonians to explore new topics and new themes. You don't have to be singing about politicians all the time. I mean, this year, you know, so that it was really pleasing.
Do you believe Charlton lost out because he went for humor as opposed to social and political commentary?
Yeah, big times. Charlton's second song is a good song for the tent. Make us laugh and so on. But I'm not sure if the second song will crown anybody, regardless of who's singing it. But he has a very good song. And also there was something awry with the sound in his first song. I started hearing him clearer in the third and fourth verses as well. And I think in Calypso, I try to be a keen listener. So that there were some issues, but Charlton is a very good prospect. And I believe this year, what we have witnessed, Elan, and I know you also, you may have missed the 10th, but I believe that we have a good crop of young potential Calypsonians that if they stick to it, because let's face it, Colin, not just Calypso, soca and so on and so forth, is that we want consistency across the years. I mean, Scholar, Boise, Looney Spark, Electrify, Killer, and so on, they have not become household names by giving us one-hit wonders. You know, they have been there and thereabouts for 10, 15, 20 years. Right. And so a guy like Boba, 473, he had a good song some years ago, around 2019 or thereabouts, but we need these artists to be consistent year after year. That's the real challenge.
Okay, Alan, your thoughts on Calypso, and listeners and viewers, 440-1252, you certainly can weigh in.
I think Ali covered it. I didn't have the fortune of getting the tents as I wanted to. I kind of got pieces of them and looked back at some kind of recordings. The quality wasn't so good all the time. But what kind of stood out for me, what I recall, the changing of the guard. There are a lot of new faces. A lot of new faces in the game, and I love that, which means Calypso is alive and it's not dying at all in Grenada. I heard the resurgence of Mr. X, which I loved, and that really stood out for me, that we still have the Ajamo involved writing. We still have Mr. X coming back in. I didn't hear Wizard that he was there. I still have here Neil writing. I still know Scholar writing for several, Sour Serpent still writing. But we have a lot of new players in it. Ali, I kind of differ with you a little bit on the Prince Charlton, because I thought the second song, humor is not an easy thing to write. And I thought he kind of hit it on that second song. I wasn't there to hear the clarity on the change in the audio, but I think he kind of hit that second song. And like you said, scholar fatigue is a real thing.
If I may weigh in and for me to put on my judging hat here, I'm in agreement with you. Humor is difficult to write, and the question is whether or not our sitting judges were mature enough to score a song that basically came from left field. It didn't follow the traditional, or what we've seen now as traditional social and political commentary. And how do you assess that, treat that, judging the song as presented? And I thought, which is where my original question went, he was hurt by coming with a humor, pure humor, not social and political commentary a little bit, but that's part of the growth process, both for artists and judges.
But we have had humor winning already in Calypso finals. Inspector, Tubulko, how they fighting and so on. I mean, you know. But there's another element of.
We have a caller online, so let's just take the call and come back. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, good night, good night.
Good night.
Good analysis, man. Elon, we see down here, man. You need to come home. And, well, my concern is the parking, man, and the traffic issue on those both days. And the long walking, especially if you have children with you, the park, and then you have to walk so far in some instances.
Yeah.
So that is my concern. We need to address those issues too.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, caller. As we talk about the patrons' experience, probably better logistics in terms of park and ride or the like would be important.
Yeah,
we need to focus. We need to focus on these things. That's why I say the analysis can't just be the mass, the song, the mass, the thing. We need to look at it holistically. So we have parents. I used to go to town with my parents as a child, and you had to park. It wasn't as big as it is now. You had to park somewhere and walk into St. George's. Now St. George's is kind of closed off. Certainly the Carandan. So where do you park? Ministerial complex, all of the lane, people parking almost up by the roundabout and then walking in. And we have to, and if you come in with children and then you have to walk with snacks for the children and you have a bag on your back and two children holding in your hand, and where you're going to stop, where you're going to stand, are you going to stand for hours waiting on a band coming from wherever? We need to look at it holistically. That's why I spoke about creating these zones, family zones, and things for children to do, and areas for them to sit and be entertained, while we want to encourage and give the masqueraders more room to show off their wear. Come from Granance and you have a whole road coming up. I mean, the same people go to Trinidad and play 5 times that distance and don't complain. So, I mean, Frederick Street alone is half of the distance from Granance to town.
Right. Well,
and we play that up and down every street in Trinidad.
Pump It Up Walk is longer than our route, and there's no rum and no music, and they cover it easily.
But yeah, that the issue of parking and park and rides and shuttle, of having major parking areas, whether it's a stadium or a riser, and on this side of the south side, whether you use that and park and rides and shuttle, these are issues that we need to seriously look at, because actually when you come in town Carnival Monday and Tuesday, you have to walk out where you park it, which street you want to go on, and so on and so forth. Yes, it's a nightmare. But just to get back to the Charlton issue and the music, so we've had Specky, then you may remember singing MC by Iba Huba. That performance always stood out. But although Charlton sang humor, I don't think that his presentation and so on was as strong, with the greatest of respect. I mean, a lot of wood on stage, and it's another issue with regards to how the audience may have accepted the humor and so on. So yeah, humor can be difficult to write. That is admitted, but I would have to remain with variance with Elon on the strength of it.
Okay. We have another caller online. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Good evening, gentlemen. Very, very good program, Mr. Robinson. This is St. Paul's man here. I'm not sure if I missed it, but I haven't heard anything on PAN. Not sure if I missed it. Thanks. Good night.
Okay, you did not miss it because we did not yet touch on PAN and St. Paul. So congratulations to the Grenada Cooperative Bank Comancheros on winning the senior panorama competition. My good friend, who is Dr. Ramirez, I was able to congratulate. He was part of the team arranging the song. So, Alan, I know you followed the PAN. You're from St. Paul, so I'd let you go first.
Well, we win. What else I have to say? We win. But yeah, PAN, again, growing. So we have Grenada Big 4, Trinidad has a Big 5. I think we have a Big 3 probably in Grenada with Comancheros, Angel Harps, and New Dimensions. I'm glad to see PANs being donated or PAN back in St. David's. I want to see the growth. I want to see Grand Roy and some help given to Grand Roy for PAN to grow. PAN to grow generally. Let me don't forget my good friend Blaze. That's another one of the big ones, and Rainbow City. So we have a Big 5 in Grenada. But I want to hear Granans come back in the ring. I want to hear a PAN side coming up from the cultural capital of St. Patrick. I want to see PAN coming from there, and I want to also see PAN given a space. I kind of love the Saturday steel pan idea of come with your costume and jump to steel pan music. I love that idea, and I want to see it. I want to see it grow. That could be another product we add to our Grenada Carnival experience. Last lap after mass, but steel pan certainly is growing. And I love to hear the younger Rangers are exciting. We had a changing of the guard. We gone to Andre in Comancheros. We have the young Bayam in St. George's with New Dimensions. He's an exciting Ranger, always attacking, and I love to see that. Being a PAN man myself for some time, PAN is in my blood, and I love to hear it. I love to hear it and see where we're going with PAN.
Elon, not Elon, but Ali, a couple of things, because one that Elon would have missed would have been the investment in Victoria of a new set of pans. So Corinthians, St. David investment in Victoria. But let me also challenge, should we, because Elon mentioned the Big 5, that actually really is a Big 3, because Pan Wizards weren't really of the size of yesteryear. Should we really have incentives for some of these small bands so they don't feel disenfranchised. In other words, you can have an overall winner of Panorama, but should we have prizes for bands who come in with, let's say, less than 50 players, recognizing that they would not have the fullness of sound to win the overall Panorama, possibly, but not that they don't play well, not that they don't have sweet arrangements. So should the investment in Carnival also be one that we recognize that there is this disparity?
Well, I think you're making a very strong suggestion. That is something that we need to look at. We have a lot of small bands, and I must make a plug at St. John's of three steel bands. We have Grand Rai Pan Angels, we have Florida All-Stars, and Panacea, right? And we had two of our bands in the Panorama this year. So I think, yes, and that Victoria initiative, excellent initiative, CAP and so on, and I believe there is some movement in Riverside as well to rejuvenate some pan in that community. But I believe it will be a worthwhile investment as part of this Spice Mass prize packaging to reward in some way the smaller bands, to give them, incentivize them. But just to comment briefly on the Panorama, the arrangements this year was extremely exciting. Cordell Byam and Andrew Greenidge and the young man at Haps was excellent music. And when we talk about music, the Chero's song, I think written by Flying Turkey. Right. I encourage listeners to get that song and listen to that song. It's a beautiful song. Long time in the 80s and 90s and so on, Jamo and so, they used to be singing the pan songs.
What was interesting to me, because I disagree here with you somewhat, in that it is not the most exciting song you ever heard, the recorded version. Right. But the arrangement was brilliant.
The arrangement was brilliant.
It was a beautiful arrangement. It created the excitement in the audience.
It's a song that stays in your head.
Absolutely.
The arrangement, it sticks in the head. It keeps between your ears for some reason, and it was.
Let me just also inquire, because what we saw is a number of the bands. What was played for Junior Panorama was played again for Senior Panorama. And I question whether this occurred because there was really no difference in players.
So true. Yeah, because a lot of the bands now, junior players control, predominance of junior players. And that is why I believe also that we need to, for the smaller bands, out in St. John's, St. Andrew and so on, we need to invest in the teaching of pan in those parishes. You see the number of players in St. George's because the Ministry of Culture program, in many respects, targets or is focused on the St. George's. But we need more persons from the Ministry of Culture now to be going into the outer parishes to teach pan in MacDonald College and in St. Mark's Sec and so on, St. Rose and Shaper and Grenville Sec and Sass. That to me is an important strategic move for us to expand pan throughout the island.
We have another caller. Good evening, caller. Let's take the call, Leland, and come back to you.
Panelists. This is Leon from Tantine. After listening to this review, is it safe to say that we had a wonderful Spice Mass Carnival?
Leon from Tantine, I think we started off by saying, yes, it was a fantastic Carnival 2025. I think Leon from Tantine has left us, but I think we started there.
That's where we started.
That's where
we are the best mass by far. We have established that. And now we are looking at how then we can increase the distance between our mass and other mass.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Elon.
We have to look at the Exodus Steel Pan model in Trinidad, where the panyard becomes a youth center, where homework is done, where music teaching is done, where cultural arts are done and taught. And we have to look at the panyard as being the savior for a lot of youths, as opposed to going astray. We need to give Denver an award for what he does at in Grand Run. every year I think he has a different crop of youngsters. He does the best that he can with the pans that he has, with almost no pan yard. Denver works magic to get a pan side to Panorama every year, and he must be rewarded. Grand Roy needs to be looked at, but the model needs to be that a pan yard must become more than just a pan yard. It is where we save the lives of a lot of young people, and hence we need to invest in it that way. Teaching our music is a music industry. If one youngster learns to read and play properly, that's a profession by itself. If we can help them with homework as they come. So they come from school directly to the panyard, they do some homework, they do some music, and by 6 o'clock they're heading home, homework done, some studies done, camaraderie had, music learned, and it's a win-win for everybody, and the community develops around that.
Okay, it's time for closing comments. So Ali, your closing comments, and we'll let Elon have the last word because he's at a distance.
Allow me to congratulate the Spice Mass Corporation and for a good carnival, an excellent carnival. And I know that the CEO, Mr. Cecil Noel, has worked tirelessly, and the staff, I think that with the resources that they have delivered well this year. And, every year people want to beat up on SMC. But when they do well, they will do well. Of course, there are areas that we need to strengthen on, and we look forward to working with SMC to ensure that we have a much better product. The artists, the Calypsonians, the Soca Men, Groovy and Power, congratulations to you. I think you did a wonderful job this year. Let us pay kudos to them. The arrangers, the guys in the studios, I think you are doing better work. I'm sure that you have invested in your equipment and so on, and I hope that at the end of Carnival 2025 that you're able to recoup some finances in the investment that you have made. To the judges of all the competitions, thanks for your tireless, sacrifices while we enjoy you there at the table scoring and so on. And maybe it's an important jump off to say to Calypsonians and so that even at times when you disagree with the score, the position that you come in, at all times respect the judges, please, because there is really no place in the culture for Calypsonians or soca artists to be abusive of judges and so on and so forth. This work is basically a thankless job, and what they are doing is extremely important for the culture and for the art form. So I want to say to our Calypsonians, our artists, that at all times, Innocent, when he did that interview, he said he take the result by grace, and I think that we must have grace even when in defeat and so on. So that I want to urge our artists and so on to be of best behavior and best conduct when results do not go their way. But all in all, we had an excellent Spice Mass. The work now continues for us to strengthen in 2026, and I think what we sought to do this evening is to, identify some areas that we believe we can strengthen on, but for the music, but for the mass, but for the pan, for the jab, we did well. Okay.
Elon?
Yeah, I hope the takeaway from this is not that we were beating up on SMC for an hour and a half. I think the takeaway from this should be, we love 2025, we want 2026 to be even better, to be bigger and better. We want to make sure that money is earned in all areas, that not just government makes money off our taxes, but that the soca men who invested, the Calypsonians who invested, were able to recoup some funds. So we need to look at probably the structure of how the tents, Calypso tents are structured. How do we best get people into the tents and be able to make some money?
All right.
How do we get all of this how do we earn out of all of this? And the areas that we can work on, and I think at the end of the day, that's what we really wanted to. Spectator experience. We could learn from what was done at Cricket World Cup. Here we mentioned Park and Ride. We mentioned spectator experience. I mentioned treating it as a project, and there's a run sheet that we had at Cricket World Cup where we knew what was happening at every minute. Those are things that we could bring back into the mass to make sure that we have the product well run, well delivered, and that everybody is able to smile at the end of the day. We continue to lend our voice, but excellent mass this year. We have hit the Caribbean by storm, and it's just to make it. I understand some of the hotels are filled already for next year. So we certainly are doing something right, but we could do it even better.
All right, thanks you very much for that, Elon. And let me just, as my own final comment, give congratulations to the work that the SMC has done. You're punching way above your weight because it's an extremely limited staff, and there is an appeal I am making of government for early and meaningful investment in the human resources of SMC so that our product can rise. Grenada deserves it, Spice Mars deserves it, and CEO Noel and the team deserves the assistance, please. All right. Ali Gill, Elon Robinson, thank you very much for sharing of your expertise. To you, the listeners and viewers, of course, as the start, you make this program special. Thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to being with you again in the next 6 days, 22.5 hours. Take good care.